This is macOS Ken.
Canalys says iPhone was tops for 2024. Production revs up for TSMC AZ. And China may be blocking the exits. It is Wednesday, the 15th of January, 2025. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCat. Hey, remember all that talk yesterday about iPhone shrinking market share and Samsung being number one in the world? Never mind, I guess. Never mind if you get your numbers from Canalys. Oh, they also indicate a loss of market share for Apple, though they've got iPhone holding the top spot globally for the full year. That was the second year in a row that iPhone pulled that off, according to this market tracker. In a post on Tuesday, Canalys analyst Le Xuan Chu was quoted as saying, Apple solidified its global position through growth in emerging markets like India and Southeast Asia in 2024 by expanding channel coverage and influence in the Asia-Pacific region and leveraging active marketing and branding strategies. Apple captured growth opportunities. However, competition and a prolonged replacement cycle limited its growth momentum in some developed markets. Looking ahead to 2025, Apple is expected to achieve growth driven by a refreshed portfolio, hardware upgrades, and broader adoption of Apple Intelligence. So IDC and Counterpoint have Apple second in smartphones. Canalys has iPhone in first. I'm starting to think this might be the reason Apple stopped reporting unit numbers 6 years ago, focusing instead on revenue. Speaking of that, we're just over 2 weeks away from Apple's next earnings call. The Cupertino company will report first quarter fiscal year 25 earnings on Thursday, the 30th of January. More on that as it approaches. Apple's chip production seems to be heating up in the Arizona desert. Tom's Hardware cites a report from Nikkei Asia that says the iPhone maker is testing the initial batch of processors produced for its devices by TSMC, Arizona. I know there are no guarantees in life, but see if this statement doesn't make your insides look for the exit. According to the report, the tests intend to compare the Arizona output to see if the quality is similar to chips produced in TSMC's cutting-edge fabs in Taiwan. After how much money to build a plant, they now have to make sure the plant can actually make the thing they made the plant to make. I know, it's quality control, but it really never occurred to me that they might get this far without knowing whether they'd actually be able to do what they're trying to do. If all goes well, though, the piece says the first round of chips from the Arizona fab could be out to factories that actually make Apple devices as early as this quarter. Well, actually, they have to go first to M-Core in Taiwan for packaging, according to the report, until TSMC completes its packaging facility in Peoria, Arizona. This news comes compliments of secret people. Secret people, probably not hiding under your bed. Does it seem like China's being pretty cool about the manufacturing Apple setting up outside of China? Yeah, maybe not. 9to5Mac highlights another Nikkei report. This one has the Middle Kingdom working to slow exports of parts to other manufacturing hubs. According to Nikkei, China is increasing its scrutiny of exports by Apple and other American tech companies, hampering their efforts to expand production in Southeast Asia and India, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. The stated reason for the increased scrutiny: national security. Quoting Nikkei again, the tighter customs checks are related to dual-use technology export controls Beijing introduced in early December and have resulted in delays of days or even weeks on shipments of production equipment and materials to Vietnam and India. Dual use in this case means tech that China says could be used for consumer devices as well as for military purposes. Really, though, observers think it's about economics and politics. Economics says 9 to 5 Mac because China obviously wants to make it as difficult as possible for Apple to shift manufacturing capacity outside the country. Politics because President-elect Trump has threatened to impose an additional 10% tariff on all Chinese goods imported into the U.S., and China wants to highlight its potential for retaliatory action. Supporting those points, a source tells Nikkei that items not on China's dual-use list are facing stricter reviews. One example given, some speed testing equipment for smartphones that Chinese customs has apparently decided could be related to military use. Is the EU reassessing tech probes into Apple, Google, and Meta ahead of the incoming Trump administration? Yes. Wait a second. No. Wait a second. Yes. A piece from the Financial Times says that is a thing that is happening. According to the report, Brussels is reassessing its investigations of tech groups including Apple, Meta, and Google, just as the U.S. companies urge President-elect Donald Trump to intervene against what they characterize as overzealous EU enforcement. The report has the European Union giving cases launched since March 2024 a second look. That could lead to the European Commission scaling back or changing the remit of the probes, according to the piece. The Financial Times has a senior, though unnamed, EU diplomat briefed on the matter, saying, "It's going to be a whole new ballgame with these tech oligarchs so close to Trump and using that to pressurize us. So much is up in the air right now." That apparently includes whether the reassessments are actually happening. When asked about the report yesterday, a spokesperson for the European Commission told the Financial Times, "There is no such review taking place. What we do have are upcoming meetings to assess the general readiness of an investigation. No decision can be taken yet on any of these cases." So they're not reassessing, they're just continuing to assess again. This is fine. Apple and Amazon have dodged a $600 million bullet in the UK. A Reuters report had the two companies being sued over alleged collusion. According to the report, lawyers allege that Apple and Amazon reached an agreement in 2018 to bar the vast majority of resellers of Apple and Beats branded products from Amazon's marketplace in the United Kingdom, reducing competition for those products. The lawsuit was brought by a consumer law academic, according to the report, on behalf of around 36 million British customers who had bought Apple or Beats products. It sought relief of £494 million, roughly $602 million US, plus interest. Apple and Amazon said the case was without merit and asked the Competition Appeal Tribunal to kill it, which they did, though apparently not because it was meritless. Rather, Reuters says the tribunal decided the plaintiff had not demonstrated sufficient independence or robustness to represent the claimant class in relation to third-party funding for the litigation. This is fine. And finally today, Tuesday saw a slow, slight trickle of developer betas. Early in the day, Mac Rumors ran a piece saying Apple had seeded the third developer beta of tvOS 18.3. That looked like that was it until mid-afternoon on the West Coast, early evening back east. That is around when 9 to 5 Mac ran a piece saying that developers had also gained access to the third beta of watchOS 11.3. No new features were found for either of those betas, according to their respective reports. Now, about as weird as the Tuesday beta cadence, another piece from Mac Rumors says Apple updated the firmware for its 25-watt MagSafe charger. No word on what that update does and no way to prompt it. The piece points out that the charger needs to be plugged in and connected to an Apple device for a firmware update to initiate, so you will definitely want to do that for some unknown reason. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. info@macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
It's still sunny.